Welcome to CC Writes. My name is CC Lepke, and today, as foretold by the great prophet Bruno Mars, I don't feel like doing anything. This morning, I slept in. Rather than get up and go straight to work like I normally do, I decided it was a good time to take a shower. All primed and ready to go for the day, I noticed that my dog needed to go outside. The weather was really nice, so I grabbed a cup of yogurt, sat on the porch, and had some breakfast. The whole time at the back of my mind, I kept thinking, you need to get your work done. But at the front of my mind, I thought, nah. By the time I was done putting off work, I was already an hour and a half behind my normal schedule. But I didn't feel bad about it at all, partially because I'm a natural-born lazy and honey badger don't care. But also, when I finally sat down at my computer, I already had a fully formed idea of what I needed to write. I call it procrastinating successfully. I might sometimes fail to procrastinate successfully, as evidenced by my gaming videos, but over time I've learned some important skills that use procrastination to my advantage. At some point in the life of a full-time or part-time author, your attention will start to drift. It's perfectly normal. It's common, even. But sometimes that drifting attention leads to procrastination. Putting off your work for one day can lead to even more procrastination the next. Before you know it, you're one day away from a deadline and you still have 30,000 words to write. Hypothetically, of course. Why would I ever put my work off that much? Ludicrous. Never happened. No, don't look at me like that. I'm a professional. Procrastination is an old friend for many writers. It's one of those friends that stops by uninvited and derails your entire day. The one that reminds you of that sink full of dirty dishes, the laundry left undone, or that TV show that you've been meaning to watch. But what if procrastination isn't the enemy at all? I suggest that we can turn procrastination into our greatest ally. All it takes is a change of mindset and a little bit of behavioral modification. Successful procrastination is all about learning how to manage the time you use to slack off. Sometimes we genuinely do need a break like I did today, but most of the time we procrastinate because we're bored, overwhelmed, or afraid to fail, or because that show on Crunchyroll isn't going to binge watch itself. But consider this. On the days that we procrastinate, we often procrastinate by performing work like cleaning the house. We end up having a really productive day, just not in the area where we expected to be productive. And yet, we still feel like we didn't get anything done. So even when we procrastinate, it's still possible to be productive. If that's true, then it's possible to use that procrastination-driven productivity to our advantage. We just have to find a way to harness it. To fully wield the power of procrastination, we first need to do some introspection to figure out why we procrastinate. I promise you, the devil did not make you do it. Unless... Hey, Steve, I'm working. Stop looming like that, you weirdo. There are many things that drive us to procrastinate, and each person is different. Think about those days where you ended up cleaning the whole house rather than work on your manuscript. How did you feel that day? What pressing emotion made you want to clean? Why was it so important? For me, anxiety is usually a key factor. My procrastination is bundled up in fear. I'm afraid I'll fail. I'm afraid no one will read my work. Most of all, I'm afraid of being rejected by the people who do read my stories. Because of my fear, I run away from my writing and devote that nervous energy into household chores so that I can feel like I have some sort of control over my environment. Which, let's face it, I don't. Those dishes have been screaming at me for days, and when the dishes start to vocalize, you know there's a problem. When you look into your own motivation, you need to go deep and allow yourself to be vulnerable. You can't alter your behavior if you don't understand the why of it. When you do understand the why, it becomes much easier to figure out how to change. A therapist once told me that depression is fear of the past and anxiety is fear of the future. To combat these fears, we have to learn how to live in the present. In order to change where I put my anxious energy, I have to practice mindfulness. Sure, I hate it when my house is messy. I'm not exactly a great housekeeper, so things pile up a little more than I would prefer. Because I know that's the case, I've planned small housekeeping projects into my workday. I have a specific amount of time to do a specific cleaning task each day, and I won't allow myself to do more than that. That's how I manage to live in the present when it comes to the anxiety that leads me to clean. To battle my bad habits, I remind myself that the chores aren't actually a pressing need because I already have them taken care of. I also remind myself that I didn't actually want to do the dishes anyway. With the looming issue of a messy house out of the way, I then find something to replace my go-to procrastination tasks. And this is where our procrastination starts to become successful. We have to teach ourselves to procrastinate with work. And we do that by giving ourselves a healthy task list with projects that we can alternate as needed. When I'm working on a project and the fear starts to hit, causing me to struggle or want to put things off, I stop working on my current project and start working on another work-related task. Sometimes that means writing a script for my YouTube channel. Sometimes it means working on my business action plan. And sometimes, I kid you not, it just means switching the story that I'm writing. I have a set of tasks that I have to accomplish each day. When I feel the procrastination coming on, rather than force my way through it, I just switch to a new task that I needed to accomplish anyway. This morning, while I was on the porch eating my yogurt, I was brainstorming video ideas. That was how I was able to get to work right away and not feel guilty about putting it off. Plus, yogurt is delicious. Why would I ever regret yogurt? 3 days a week, I record videos, write scripts, plot out and write stories, do a live stream, and clean the house. I switch between these tasks as needed, and I'm usually finished with all of my work by 4 p.m. It isn't because I have a strong work ethic, I promise you. I lose focus quickly, so I give myself plenty of other things to work on so that at least something gets done. I also give myself small deadlines to help with motivation. When you're a full-time writer, there's no one to hound you about turning in assignments on time. It can be helpful to pretend you have a boss that's demanding that you do a certain amount of work each week, or that you get the whole thing done by a certain date. By thinking about it this way, it motivates you to get tasks done that feel a little bit more pressing than they would otherwise. My imaginary boss is evil. That lady acts like the whole world is gonna end if I turn in a project a minute late. I would quit, but this job is really rewarding, and what would I do otherwise? Real work? Ew. It's also really important to be careful about how you assign yourself tasks. Be aware of how much energy you have to get your work done each day. For most people, 7 tasks is the limit. You don't want to go beyond that because you'll overwork and stress yourself out. The tasks that I assign myself are usually pretty easy. I'm supposed to finish writing 1 script each day, do an hour-long live stream on Twitch, record 1 video, and clean 1 thing in my house. 4 tasks is my limit because of both laziness and depression, which saps my energy pretty hard. But I always feel really proud of myself for being able to get those things done. It helps combat the fear that comes along with my anxiety, and it lets me progress as a writer. You should be careful not to assign yourself too many writing projects at once. It's really easy to fall into the trap of adding more and more stories into your queue until you have so many stories that you'll never be able to finish any of them. I would say 2 stories should be the maximum, but if you're able to do more than that and still remain productive, then go ahead. But remember, productivity is the goal. So if you've been writing those same 3 million stories for 3 years and still aren't close to finishing them, it might be time to make a sacrifice and pare down your workload a bit. If you learn to change your procrastination habits, then procrastination will become a tool to push your writing forward rather than holding you back. Identifying the reason for your procrastination, fighting negative habits and replacing them with positive habits, and learning how to assign yourself tasks will greatly improve your writing productivity without forcing you into a writing slump. Remember, sometimes we just need a break. Sometimes we need to procrastinate to keep our minds fresh. Changing how you procrastinate and learning to procrastinate successfully will make your writing life so much easier. If you liked this video and want more from me about how to live the writing life, click on the top video to see how to face your writing critiques with grace. Otherwise, click on the bottom link to see what YouTube recommends. As always, thank you so much for joining me today on CC Writes. I hope you enjoyed our time together, and I will see you later.